No apologies. Are there any conflicts of interest? No conflicts of interest. There's no public forum, I understand. Are there any announcements by the Mayor?
Morena, just to say a very happy birthday to Councillor Brown.
Thank you. Carried unanimously. Are there any announcements by... No, it's just by the management? It's not on the agenda, actually. Okay. Any announcements by management, sorry? No? Was it you? Okay, sorry. Oh, okay. I don't have any announcements. Is there notification of minor matters that are not on the agenda? Okay. Right, now there's the management. Okay. We have found out that there are no announcements from management. Confirmation of the minutes, that the minutes of the Napier People and Places Committee held on Thursday, the 2nd of July 2020 be taken as a true and accurate record of the meeting. Is there a mover and a seconder? Councillor Mawson, seconded by Councillor McGrath. All those in favour say aye. Aye. All those against say no. Thank you, it's carried. Right, we have one agenda item in the open meeting, and that is the Aquarium STAPP COVID recovery funding. And I would like to ask Steve Gregory to speak to this item, please.
Kia ora, councillors. Look, this report is to seek council agreement to the terms of a funding agreement between Napier City Council and Ministry of Business Innovation and Employment, MB, for a grant offered from Strategic Tourism Asset Protection Funding. So that's a bit of a mouthful. We'll call it STAP, abbreviated. The STAP funding program was set up to support regionally significant tourism assets and their operations. Decisions on funding allocations were made by the Tourism Recovery Ministers Group, supported by MB Advice. The approval of the STAP funding recognises that the National Aquarium of New Zealand is a critical and strategic tourism asset, not only regionally, but nationally. The National Aquarium of New Zealand made an application to the STAP fund as a strategic tourism asset for Hawke's Bay that suffered a reduction in admissions and subsequently revenue during the lockdown period of 23rd of March to 14th of May 2020 and the following level 2 restrictions. The application applied a minimum request for funding to support lost revenue of $400,000 over the COVID-19 lockdown period at alert levels 3 and 4. It was outlined this funding would be used to support team payroll and other animal-related costs. The application also included a maximum amount of funding sought of $1,094,000 that also included projected speculative COT loss. The application was successful for the lower end of the funding requested, and an initial support package of $800,000 in both grants and loans was offered across a 2-year agreement period. This is made up of a grant of up to $500,000 with a balance of $300,000 in funding to be accessed through a loan should it be required. The loan will be on favourable interest rate terms and will be repayable over 5 years. Now, MB requires Council to submit 6 monthly reports where we report on 4 living standards framework funding indicators. So we have chosen from physical financial capital to indicate ourselves through sustainability of supply chains. Then through human capital, we want to focus on employee skill levels. In natural capital, we want to focus on biodiversity endangerment and disruption. And finally, social capital, visitor satisfaction. This funding support is certainly going to help the aquarium operations and to allow us to continue to be the prominent strategic tourism asset it is for not only the region, but nationally. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions, comments on this matter? Yes, Councillor McGrath.
Through the chair. Council officers and yourself, I guess, are you comfortable that we're going to meet the criteria and obligations of the agreement?
Yes, I mean, there's quite a range in the attachments that you had been given that we could have chosen from. And I think, our focus was on having something that was achievable, but also to develop not only the asset, but the team as well. So very much so.
Thank you.
Yes, councillor Simpson.
Yeah, just to clarify, the report specifically refers to and outlines the $500,000. It makes reference to a further $300,000 loan, which is not really addressed in the report. So I understand it's your intention not to look at that loan?
Excuse me, councillor Simpson and all councillors, just make sure you're close to the mic, please. Thank you.
Right, they put them
Sorry.
so far away. Yeah.
At this point in time, we don't think we'll use it, but we certainly still have that option.
But it's not a requirement
No.
of looking at the 500,000.
No.
Right, are there any other questions or comments, concerns? Yes, councillor Deputy Mayor Brosnan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Steve, are you aware of any other tourism facilities that have been successful in similar grants? I'm just looking for a gauge on whether the funding we've received is kind of online with other similar facilities.
Around the country or
Around-
regionally?
Yeah, well, either would be.
I mean, there's not too many national aquariums.
Well, significant tourism, would you call it?
Look,
SAPPs.
I'll be honest with you, I don't know them all off the top of my head. But I think what we can draw from this is central government is recognising that we are strategically critical to this country, and it is an asset that we need to look after.
Thank you. And through you, Madam Chair, would you mind if I ask one clarity question? Just on the resolution wording, Steve, and probably picking up on what Councillor Simpson was saying, delegating authority to the Director of Corporate Services, the negotiation of the loan agreement should Council wish to take it up. Is that implying that you would need a decision of Council to take up the loan?
Yes,
And that would be the intention?
yes.
Thank you.
Yes, councillor Crystal.
Through you, just to answer you, Annette, Te Puia got significant grants, AJ Hackett got significant grants. There's quite a few big tourist industries that have been given helping hands.
Are there any other questions or comments? Okay, if there are none, is there somebody who would like to move this resolution? Councillor Mawson, councillor Crystal, would you like to speak to it?
Thank you. Just that it's quite nice for the government to admit that it's something of national significance, and certainly a grant of this magnitude will I assume well utilised by the staff and so forth. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Crystal?
Yes, just concur with Councillor Mawson, and the aquarium is doing well, and it's good to see the support. So.
Yes, councillor Wright.
Just to make a note that the Art Deco Trust did receive significant funding as well.
Excellent. Right, if there are no further comments, I'll put the motion. I'll read it. For those of you who are watching on the live stream, there is a link in the Facebook comments to the agenda of this meeting and the next meeting. So the officer's recommendation is that the Napier People and Places Committee A, approve to agree to the terms of the Strategic Tourism Assets Protection Program STAP funding agreement with MB. B, approve to accept the funding in line with the agreement $300,000 2021, $200,000 21-22. C, delegate authority to the Director Corporate Services, the negotiation of the loan agreement should Council wish to take this up. And D, delegate authority to the Director Community Services to sign the funding agreement and, if required, make any minor changes as required by MB, Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment. I'd like to put this resolution. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
All those against say no. The resolution is carried. I'm now going to adjourn this meeting and ask the Chair of the Prosperous Napier Committee to open his meeting. We'll come back to the public excluded agenda later.